So Alyson Dixon, just before the 2012 Virgin London Marathon, how are you feeling speaking to you the day before the race? What's your mood and spirits like?
Yeah, not too bad just now. I'm quite calm. Kind of coming into the expo this morning, the nerves did start to tingle a bit, but overall, I'm just looking forward to it and can't wait to get out there and get the race underway.
And could you tell us how your training has gone a little bit over the last few months? Because you're a notoriously hard worker, and I think you also go off to Africa a fair bit as well. You go off to Kenya to train at altitude there.
Yeah, I've been to Kenya twice since January. I've done a 4-week camp, came back home for 4 weeks where I slept in an altitude tent and then went back out for 3 weeks. Training's gone as well as I could expect. I've had a few little niggling injuries, which you kind of part and parcel of hard marathon training, but I've had all my high mileage. I had 4 weeks at 120 miles and then kind of came down to about the 110, 115. Got in some really good key sessions and those all-important long tempo runs, so confidence is high at the minute. We just have to be sensible on race day.
What would you say some of those key sessions are? Is it the all-important tempo run, as you say, or do you have any kind of track workouts that you can share with us, and any kind of killer sessions that you've done in recent weeks?
I keep away from the track just because I like to run on the road, because obviously that's where I'll be racing on, so just get a feel of running at that pace on the road. One of my big key sessions is the 12-13 mile marathon pace run. If I can hit that at within kind of 2 or 3 seconds of my marathon pace, I know I'm in really good shape, because it is quite hard to run at marathon pace by yourself on a cold Thursday evening in Sunderland. And my other key session is the 10 by the mile, which I use in a local country park. We've got quite an undulating gravel mile loop in there, and I was clocking those in about 5:10s, and that's kind of by far the fastest I've ever done for that session, so that was a real confidence booster that I have jumped forward in fitness.
So that's 10 times a mile, just checking I'm hearing you properly here, 10 times a mile on a gravelly track, you say, fairly flat I guess, a little bit undulating, and you knock them out in about 5:10. And what kind of recovery do you have between those?
That was a minute recovery.
A minute recovery? Crikey, that must be... Is it harder than the tempo session you do?
Kind of. It's not in a way, because the tempo is mentally harder, because you've just got to keep on doing that without the recovery. I mean, it's kind of 30 seconds a mile slower, but at least on the mile rep session, you know that you finish that, you're going to have your minute recovery sort of thing, and it's just a case of clicking them off sort of thing. And obviously my session wasn't each and every one of them was in 5:10. It was an average of 5:10, so I had some slightly faster, some slightly slower, but yeah, it's probably one of the most toughest sessions, but mentally wise the tempo for me is a lot worse.
Do you do most of this by yourself as well, or do you have tried and trusted training partners who keep you sane during the sessions? No,
unfortunately this year most of my training's been done by myself with my partner on the bike for company. Last year I did have some of the guys from Sunderland Harriers do my tempos with us up to about 8 miles, but unfortunately they've came down with injuries and they haven't been available this year, so...
I don't know if you can tell us a little bit about your background with regards to previous marathons and your PB and stuff like that.
Yeah, this is my 5th marathon. I debuted at London in 2010, which didn't go quite to plan. I went into the race a little bit too cocky in terms of how easy it was to run a certain time, and got carried away, hit 18 miles and wondered why I was slowing down so much. So I learnt a lot from that race, took that into New York, where I just aimed to kind of run as well as I could, but also to finish strong. And I managed to just do a negative split on there, and I finished actually kind of my last mile through Central Park was the fastest of the race, and it was really positive for us in that I was catching people and overtaking them in the final stages. So that kind of gave us a positive kind of effect of the marathon, which then decided, yeah, I'll have this go again. So I went to Brighton last year and ran 2:34, which for that course was really good going because it's quite hilly. And then unfortunately
you won that race as well, I think.
Yeah, I won that race, course record by about half an hour or something, which isn't as brilliant as it sounds because it was only the second year of the race. But it was good to see that the course record's been taken down again to 2:29 this year, so that's really good for the Brighton Marathon. And from that I also got the qualifying time for the World Championships, where unfortunately things didn't go too well, and found out later that I actually had 2 broken bones in my foot, so that kind of explained that one.
When you say broken bones, would those be kind of stress fracture type injuries?
I think they probably started off as stress fractures, but by the time I'd ran, as we worked out 3 marathons on them, they'd kind of just turned into complete breaks. One of the big toe and one of the sesamoid bone. So after that it was 3 months in the pool to rehab, and then here we are now, sort of thing.
And then you've got back into your training this winter and all set for London tomorrow, a PB hopefully. Olympic qualification as well. It's really up for grabs. What's your view on all that, and also Joe Pavey's decision to sit out the marathon?
Yeah, Joe's made it a little more complicated for us all, because it's not a case of first past the post with the qualifying time. We've obviously got to be running with her time in mind, so kind of a time low 2:28, kind of sub 2:28 I think would make the team, but starting the selectors at the end of the day, I can only go out there, run the best I can, and hopefully put my cards on the table for when they meet up on Monday.
There are obviously lots of contenders as well, Claire Hallisey and Liz Yelling, Susan Partridge, Louise Damon, yourself. Is there any plans to kind of help each other run together? I think the British men are thinking of trying to help each other a little bit. Are the women quite as friendly, or is it everyone for themselves?
As far as I know, there's kind of 2 groups going to be running. One's going at 2:28 pace and one at 2:30 pace. So the people in the different groups will help each other out, probably still around 20 mile, and it'll be a case of every man for himself. So it's just a case to see who sticks with those paces, who gets itchy feet and takes off earlier, and basically who comes through with the least damage, because I think there could be a few casualties out there on the road.
And do you know what the weather forecast is at the moment? It looks a bit showery and grim this week. Are you bothered about that at all? Being someone who lives in the northeast of England, it must feel quite tropical down here for you this week.
Well, compared to the weather that I've had out in Kenya, it's pretty cold, but compared to the last week in the northeast, it is nice. I saw the BBC this morning and they're forecasting 14 degrees and showers not starting until later on, so as long as they're after 11:30, I think I should be okay.
Hopefully you'll have finished by then. I don't know if you could tell us as well a bit about your background, how you actually started in athletics, and when you first started running, at what age you got into it, and who started coaching you at the start, who your role models were.
Yeah, I've been involved in athletics all my life, because kind of came down here to watch my dad as a youngster. He used to do marathons all over the kind of Europe, and kind of just to keep us out of trouble, I would enter the fun runs that were associated with them, so kind of that started the love of running. And then when I went to senior school, my PE teacher's husband ran with my dad, so it was a case of, your dad's a runner, you can do the cross country, and it kind of went from there really. So I've been running since properly since I was about 10 or 11, and then when I went to university, decided I either enjoy university life or I take running serious. So I went for the running option, won 2 booster titles on the track, over 10,000, and then it's just progressed from there. So obviously kind of growing up, I've had lots of women in the northeast that have performed really well, in Jill Hunter, Caroline Naseby, and kind of just looking at them and you realise, they're not that different from me. I can't achieve the same things if I work hard, and it went from there really.
What would you say your ultimate ambition would be? Would it be to get in the London Olympics or a big marathon PB? What do you really want out of the sport?
When you're a child, you dream of making the Olympics one day, so that is the ultimate dream. But if I run a good PB tomorrow, I'd be really happy, just the same whether I make the Olympics or not.
And lots of your running as well. Is it right to say you're a full-time runner, but you have a real scramble to try and fund things and to get out to Kenya? And it's been a bit of a battle to actually live the life of a full-time athlete?
Yeah, for the last year now I've been full-time athlete. There's no funding. A lot of people assume because you make the World Championships that you automatically get funding, but I know for I'm not at the level or the standard that you need to get funding, so I have no qualms about that. But it has been hard, getting no regular income. Plus I didn't get a chance to race that much over the summer because of the World, so I wasn't bringing in prize money. So I started some fundraising and that went really well. I managed to raise about £8,000. So that kind of paid for my first trip to Kenya, and then UK Athletics paid for my second. So I have got a little bit of money in the bank now to keep us full time if I do make the Olympics, to cover that. But I also work part-time in Sweatshop, which is really good because they're really understanding in that you need time off to train and to compete and that. So it's really good just to have a little bit of money to cover a few things.
And you, a couple of weeks after this Virgin London Marathon, we've got the Marathon of the North, which is in your home area, and I believe your dad had something to do with setting up the course as well, and designing or measuring the course. He must really have wanted to do that race, but I believe it's past the qualifying deadline for the Olympics, isn't it? Which must be a little bit frustrating.
Yeah, unfortunately the team selected on Monday, so it's kind of 2 weeks too late. I did do the launch event with Steve Cram, and kind of all the local journalists were wanting to know if I was running, and I would love to do it one time and hopefully get my name on the winner's trophy, but unfortunately just not this year.
I guess you'll be up there in Sunderland as well in 2 weeks' time, cheering everyone on while they're running, and who knows, maybe part of the British Olympic team at that stage if everything goes well tomorrow.
Yeah, that's the plan. I think I'm going to have a jog around the 10k, just kind of help them out sort of thing, because they are one of the sponsors that's given us some money in the last few months. So I'll just go up there and help them out whichever way they want us to, and yeah, hopefully it would be nice for them to be able to introduce us as kind of the latest Olympian to be added to the team, but see how it goes tomorrow.
See how it goes tomorrow.
Yeah.
Alyson, thank you very much for your time here, and best of luck in the race tomorrow.
Thank you very much.